So good morning. I know you guys have all fished these black buggers before, but and I certainly never would claim to come up with a pattern, but I have believed I've perfected it over the years. So I want to just walk you through this one and document this for my family, if for no one else, so they can use it over the years. So I use a TMC 93, 95. I think a 6 is perfect for Pennsylvania. You could tie it on a 4. I think an 8's too small, quite honestly. But the long shank, 4 extra long and extra heavy wire does two things. Gets those fish that nip at the back, and it puts a little bit of extra weight on the fly. For this, a perfect fit is a 5/32 tungsten bead. So I work with 5/32 tungsten beads on these. There's one already on there, as you can see. And we're ready to roll here. I'll use lead-free 0.2 on this. A lot of people say they want to try and keep all the weight to the front. I think the tungsten bead already compensates for that. And I use this a lot in high water. So I will try to put as much lead on there as I can. And once you get it started, you can just use your rotary vise to just turn it all on there. Bring it right up to the bead. Clean it up a little bit. And I do like just a touch super glue on the, clogged up, there we go. Just a touch of super glue on the front of the wire to hold it against the bead. This isn't absolutely necessary, but I find it adds a little bit of durability, and I've got some of these. I know I shot one this spring that I've already caught about a dozen fish on, and durability is not a bad thing. So then I'm just using regular UTC 160 denier black thread. I'll run a bit of thread through the lead. I'm not going to care whether it's completely covered or not, because there's going to be chenille over that whenever the time comes. Go through this real quick here and just get a good covering. Now, just stop. I don't even say clear back to the barb, about halfway between the barb and the point. And I'll just put a little bit of an extra coat down there. I like there to be something for the thread to bite into whenever I'm setting my marabou. So black marabou, I spend the money and buy the blood feathers, and you can get them in like 4 or 5 ounces. I don't know, bags that are enough to last you quite a long time. I like to go probably just about a shank's length and maybe a quarter. Don't overdo it with your marabou, but don't underdo it either. You want a good bit of life back here. I still think this is why the fish eat it. I don't think they care about the rest of this fly. You could probably stop right here and catch fish with it. But I will say that I'm going to do a few other things to make it tricked out a little bit. You can see I'm tying that, I cut that marabou right to the lead, or to the non-lead wire, and that fills that bit of a gap. And so now I've got one basically smooth, roughly smooth surface to work from. And then right where you tie it in, just take a couple of X-wraps across there just to lock it down a little bit better. Check it out, make sure it seems nice and tight. Next thing's probably not necessary, but makes the fly a lot more attractive to people, if nothing else. I'll take about 6 strands of black crystal flash, and I'll just use the thread to my advantage. Lay it in on one side, that's towards my side. Take a few wraps forward, pull it around to the other side. Take a few wraps back to lay it down on the camera side there. Now watch this side and just strip it off. You can see it kind of lays that nice profile down the middle of that marabou, and you'll get a lot of life out of that when the time comes. I'm building a little bit too much bulk there, which I don't like, but really won't be a problem because it's all gonna end up underneath this chenille. So I'm just using medium black chenille, nothing fancy, usual stuff. You can use crystal chenille for this too. I've got it right here. And it doesn't, I have not found a difference. This probably sinks a little bit better. It might be a better reason to do it. This probably adds more weight when it's all said and done, and yet because the black chenille, regular chenille is more traditional, I tend to favor it. It does make the fly appear a little bit more bulky, I think. The crystal chenille makes it look a little bit more lively and thin, and I don't know. I kind of like the bulk in this case. So last piece here, important, or you will blow the fly, is you got to put a piece of black wire in. And I'm just using small UTC. You could use a different color wire, whatever you wanted to do. I don't think it matters. I tend to use black with this black. I really want the strength of the black silhouette in the water. I don't want the fish to have anything to really hang up on and look at. I want them to just not be able to really distinguish what the hell's going on with it. Just gonna look black and that's it. Now probably one of my favorite parts of this fly is just putting in some rubber legs. So I just thread them on and I X-wrap them once. I tend to put them on top. You could probably put them on the bottom, wouldn't matter. In the end, I'm gonna want the rubber legs to be about twice the length of the width of the hackle, if that makes sense. So, and I'll show you when I finish. I'll turn it over and give you a quick look, but that's sort of my goal on this fly. And I'm gonna put them about 2 wraps of chenille, so think of it that way as you go forward, about 2 wraps of chenille apart on the shank, and that way I know I can get a good couple of wraps in between. And you can see I started maybe a third of the way up with the first one, and I want the last one to kind of be nicely spaced in between the bead and the last one. And you can see I can probably get 2 wraps in there, 2 wraps in there, 2 wraps in there, or 1 wrap, whatever it's going to be, but they're evenly spaced. That's all I really care about, and leave enough there that I can, when I cut them, they'll be about the width of the or twice the width of the hackle. I'm just going to throw in a 1/2 hitch. Use my rotary. I use my rotary to as much as I possibly can. You know, some people buy rotary vices and then let them sit, but I find that you get a lot nicer, more even turns out of a rotary vise. And just these rubber legs can be a little bit tricky, but you just kind of push them around, use the chenille to position them where you want them. You can see I'm going to get 2 nice wraps in between. Like I was saying, then I'll go underneath on that one, some of them will go over. Doesn't really matter whether they come out on top or on the bottom. This is called tying in the round, right? Like this is a fly tied in the round, and it doesn't, you know, when it's in the water, it doesn't matter whether it's upside down, whether it's sideways, whether it's backwards, it basically looks the same to the fish. And so where those rubber legs kind of land really doesn't matter. But I have a tendency to try to keep them to the side of the hook because I think that generally that hook is going to ride up. I know people don't believe that, but they think the hook actually turns things over, but the top of the hook's heavier than the bottom, and it ends up keeling over a lot of times. And if it doesn't, then those are on the side. Either way, those are nicely kind of out to the side, and if the fish is looking up, it can see them, and if it's looking down, it can, I wasn't paying attention there, cut the thread. It gets more of a silhouette too, so I'll just tap back in for a second. Sorry about that. Just saddle hackles, any saddle hackle will do. You want one that's going to have a nice wide profile when it gets on the hook. I'm tying with a long shank hook, and so it'll look a little thinner than, you know, than the hook is going to indicate. But you just want motion out of this, and you know, I don't think you can put too little hackle, and I don't think you can put too much hackle. And this, while it's really important, it really doesn't need to be done very accurately, if that makes sense. It's not like tying a dry fly. I'm just going to kind of sloppily put these on there. Make sure it's set nice. Give it a little tug, make sure it's set. throw in a half hitch or two, and then bring your cradle in. Now I've got plenty to work with here. I've got a pair of hackle pliers around here, but I probably don't need it. I'm just going to grab the stem and try to get. I like that thick, at the very base of the feather. I said we grab another one here. The base of the feather. This is going to be a little bit wider. And what's cool about this is that goes at the front, and it just visually gives the angler a better look. Whether the fish cares or not, I have no idea. I doubt, honestly. And we're just gonna wrap through those rubber legs, keeping it even. Reposition just a little bit there, and come right back. Try to keep your wraps about the same spacing to each other. That's probably the important thing. You see, you can use that. You put your finger on there, and it just holds that hackle right in place. So I want to get it right to the base here, and then I'm going to grab that hackle. I'm switching hands here with the hackle. This was a little bit of a short hackle, so don't need to necessarily do that. You can just grab it. And then got my wire. You can see I trapped with my wire. Just trapped that little piece of hackle, and I'm going to wrap that wire right back up over the hackle. And yeah, it's the same direction. It's funny, years ago when I started, I used to wrap the wire in the opposite direction, and then realized that I was not actually crossing over. You just keep everything rolling in the same direction, and this crosses the hackles back over and pins them all down. And so, hackle stems are fragile, wire is not, and what you get is a good, structurally very sound fly, because if that hackle stem gets nicked, and hopefully we're catching big brown trout with these, that hackle stem gets nicked, you still have what you need. Just going to take 2 or 3 wraps back over the wire. Getting a little bit of bulk in the front there, but I don't care. It just kind of ties right in nice to a neck to the bead. 2, 3, 4 half hitches. I know a lot of you use the old whip finisher. I have never learned to use it, and I've been tying for 40 years now. So at any rate, that is pretty much that. A dab of whatever head cement you want up front. Loon hard head's good stuff. This is the water thin stuff. I like to put it all the way around on this one. Again, I like some durability in this fly. It can last you a while if you use 10 pound test, or whatever, 2x or so. Now take a quick look here. I'll show you. So here's the hackle widths, right? And you want about double the hackle width, so I'll cut them there. And then once I cut one side, I got to make sure the other side's just about equal, because you don't want the fly to twist on you. And yeah, you can be sloppy with this one way or the other. And there you go. That is my version of a black woollybugger, and incredible fly for high water. Has put a lot of fish on the beach for sure over the years for me. I hope you enjoyed that, and have a great day. Go catch some fish.